Hey guys, and welcome back to Divine Journey 2. Last episode we finally built out our applied energistics system to be able to autocraft for us. We started off pretty small here with just 2 CPUs and some molecular assemblers just to get us started. And we also started machine on demand crafting as well, and between episodes I have added a few more machines to this wall and hooked them up with some interfaces. So here we have an induction smelter and alloy smelter, as there is some unique recipes between them both. We have the enrichment chamber for things like pure Certus, energetic infuser to charge our Certus quartz, a sag mill. This painting machine I'm just still going to use manually for our conduit facades. And then finally the soulbinder and slice and splice, which I haven't actually hooked up to AE2 yet, but we already have the cables over here, so it's just a matter of plugging in the interfaces. And yeah, I did tidy up the wiring behind here a bit. So I'm looking forward to this episode actually. It should be quite the challenge even. The plan is to automate our Empowerer here, and that also means tackling the Atomic Reconstructor automation, which is going to get moved from here. This is mostly so that we can fully automate our Elevatium Ingots. So for the last few episodes actually, since we've unlocked these things, we have slowly been chipping away at the input items for this. And a lot of these ingredients we do already have automated here. One of the things we don't quite have yet is these Inner IO gears. But now that we have autocrafting, we can just drop in recipes for these things. So there's the Infinity gear, the Energized gear, the Vibrant Bimetal gear, and I think we'll also need a recipe for sticks and planks. So yeah, with that, beside the center item here, I think we have all 4 items of the 3 empowered materials fully automated here. So I guess that means that we start off with the Atomic Reconstructor automation. So this Reconstructor was something that I was considering doing on demand, but I think I've actually changed my mind and we're going to do it passively instead, which does complicate things a little bit. So I'm going to take some time to try and get this thing figured out. Alright, so this may have taken a bit longer than I'd like to admit, but we have a fully passive Atomic Reconstructor setup here. There's probably too many ways to count to actually set this up, but this is the setup that I came up with today. So the way this works is we have compacting drawers with a drawer controller with a storage bus on there. This is going to hold all of our outputs from the Reconstructor. And if we, for example, take out the Inori and bring it below the threshold that I've set, it automatically drops more, enables the Empowerer, and creates more Inori for us until it reaches the threshold that I have set. We're collecting the items using the ranged collector, filtered for each of the crystal blocks. And this has an item conduit on the bottom, putting it inside the drawer controller. As for the redstone control here, this has been through many different iterations in the last hour. But I think I settled on a pretty clean design here. So first of all, we have an interface to supply the input items. So this one is for iron, which obviously gets turned into Inori. This is then connected to an automatic precision dropper set to deactivation mode. Anything that ends up in this dropper will automatically get dropped in front of it. And the conduit settings for this is active with a signal, which obeys the level emitter back there. And then on the insert of each automatic precision dropper, we have a limited item filter, just so that it doesn't go too crazy and craft too much at once. And then to control the extract from the interface, since we're using active with a signal, we use an inverted level emitter and then set this to the crystal block. So in this case I have, when we're below 5 Inori in our system, it will automatically put some more in the precision dropper and then drop it in front of the Atomic Reconstructor. And these thresholds will take some adjusting. I have these set just for 5, I think on each of them. I have 10 for Glod, but this will likely get changed. But then the way I'm handling the Atomic Reconstructor power is we're using a sensor from RF Tools. And this checks an area of 3x3 behind it, which then outputs a redstone signal if it detects an entity in the block space back there, which triggers a RF sequencer. And this thing will just basically create a really fast pulse and keep pulsing the Atomic Reconstructor until there's no more items in front of it. But since the items are getting collected by the ranged collector, once it reaches the threshold on the drawer, there won't be any more items in front of this, and therefore we can save power and the Atomic Reconstructor turns itself off. So yeah, I hope that explanation made some sense. And this setup isn't 100% accurate in that there is a small delay between the extraction from the interface and inserting into the precision dropper. So most of the time we're going to end up 1 or maybe 2 blocks above the threshold. But that's fine, it's a passive system and we're going to be using lots of these things anyway. But yeah, overall I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. One issue we are now facing though is we have run out of power to supply our applied energistics system since we added all of those interfaces over there. It must have just tipped it over the edge. And remember, the power for the AE system is completely segregated from all of the other power generation. So we're only using these 10 thermoelectric generators to power the AE system. So for now I've just hooked up a power cell here, but that's only going to last us so long. So to fix that problem, we have crafted up 3 tier 5 solar panels. These can give 512 RF a tick each, obviously during the day. And then we have 2 tier 4 panels, and the tier 4s only generate 128 RF a tick. But for now we just have all the power going into an energy cube and then into our main power network here. Don't worry, we won't be keeping this hole in the wall here. And to fix the applied energistic system, I've also added a tier 5 panel on here, which is connected to the ME power network. And I do want to keep this network separate to the main one, at least for now, while we still have some power issues. As yeah, in interactions, I was locked out my AE system more than one time. So I've kind of learned my lesson there. Actually, we can even get the quest for this solar panel. But yeah, now that we have the Atomic Reconstructor automated, there is actually a couple of different recipes that we don't have yet in the Atomic Reconstructor that we may want to add in the future, such as maybe Prismarine or Athetic Quartz. Maybe Soul Sand as well. We've still actually to automate Soul Sand, and we use Soul Sand in things like Solarium. But now that we have it set up, it's just a matter of adding an extra interface and a precision dropper to that setup over there. So yeah, next up let's tackle the Empowerer automations. Ideally, I would like to have one Empowerer setup for every recipe. That's just going to make automation a lot easier. But these things are still not very cheap, to be honest. So I think what we'll do is make another 3. One for Emeradic, one for Glod, and one for Diamantine to make these crystal bundles. And then the 4th one we'll set up for on-demand crafting. Alright, so I just got done encoding all of the recipes for the Empowerer and the display stands. Let's see if we can request 3 more of these things. We're missing some batteries and also 2 machine frames. And I think the batteries is because it has to be charged batteries. And to charge these batteries, I think we will just do this manually since we don't need to do this late game anyway, so it's just to craft these Empowerers. We are also going to need 18 display stands for this. It does take 3 for every craft of the Empowerer, and then obviously we need 4 for the setup itself. And it looks like we're missing some Mithril here. Mithril I think is something that we use enough of to justify doing it passively, but for now I'm just going to add alloy smelter recipes for this stuff. So I was trying to make some more RF powder, and over here at the automation that we have set up for it passively, I realised that this crafter wasn't crafting anymore. And the reason for that is because we're not getting enough GP powder in here. So we actually do have a full buffer of GP powder here. It's just not getting enough inside the crafter to be able to craft the RF powder. And to insert the GP powder back here for the RF powder craft, we are using a limited item filter for the inserts. And before I just had this on like this with 4 GP powder. However, this does also read the contents of the output bus here. So because there's 34 here but only 1 in the input slot, the limited item filter reads this as having 5 in this machine. But since this is in the output, it can't craft with it. So instead what we have to do is increase this to at least 66. And that way it's going to read above the input buffer basically. So yeah, now we're crafting. But I've also realised here that I think we have to add a separate crafter for these 2 powders. We can't have this on the remember slot because it doesn't recognise this as less durability. So basically if we forget the remembered layout, this is going to craft all the GP powder in the output slots, and then eventually we'll get to a point where there's no space for the thermal conductor rod, which will lose the durability and get put in the output slot, which then gets repaired in this tank. And if we were to level emit this, it would also stop the RF powder. So yeah, to fix that we're just going to add a separate crafter. And here we'll continue to do the RF powder, and here we'll do GP powder. Which means that we can remove this filter here, and the inserts for these materials. And instead we'll move it to this crafter here, where we have the recipe for GP powder, and we'll also hook up a level emitter here. And this level emitter we're going to use to control the crafter. So we have this on off to activate, and the level emitter is set to 64 GP powder. So when we're under 64 GP powder, this level emitter will turn on and create us more. So this solves the problem that it was clogging up the output buffers on this crafter. So this should mean now that we always have GP and RF powder available. So one of the other things that we're going to need to automate this in powder is item lasers. These are all the way down here in the quest book, but these combined with the item interface is going to make this automation a lot easier than using filters and inner IO conduits, I think. And before we craft these lasers, let's also unlock the quest for them, which does require us to get the rest of the empowered crystals. We need 1 of each of these things, and we're still to craft the Void and also the Palus. So yeah, there's the Palus, and we just have to create 1 Void crystal. So for these laser relays, there is 2 tiers. There's the regular and also the advanced, which lets you filter items. So I think we will have to actually use this one. And to hook up our lasers, we're also going to need an item interface. And we're also quickly running out of pattern slots here in the interfaces for auto-crafting. So we can now also request our Empowerers. Oh man, look at this, it's such a complicated craft. And we can also order the extra display stands that we're going to need, which looks like an equally complex craft here. At least this was very scary items to look at the beginning of the game, but now it's not so bad now actually. Also, for some reason, it's given us canola as our quest reward for the item interface. That's a very strange quest reward to give. But yeah, I think we have the rest of the materials now once those display stands are finished. And I have a bit of an idea how this is going to go. I'm not sure if it's going to work yet though, we'll see. Alright, so I've been doing some testing around with these item lasers, and I think I've got the basis on how this setup's going to work. First of all, Cyclops, you're too loud. We really should craft one of those peaceful torches for the passive mobs. Anyways, yeah, so the plan is to have an interface to supply the items again. So when you hook up these item lasers, anything connected to the item interface which gets pushed into will go into adjacent inventories from the item laser. This middle laser on the Empowerer has to be advanced, as this can take the filter. And if we didn't filter this and there was no item available in here, and we were just using priorities, it could end up filling the Empowerer with the item we want on the display stand. So now once we give these power, this should start empowering, and then we have to also deal with the output, which I think we're just going to put into drawers on site here. And that way we don't have to mess with level emitters or anything, since we are going to be doing this also passively. So I think what we'll do for this is just have a drawer controller here, and then we can run some item conduit, probably up the back side here. Yeah, and then we'll run it underneath into the drawer controller. And then we'll stack this vertically, probably with 1 or 2 block spaces, which may mean we'll have to raise this roof up a bit. But again, we're just starting with the 3 setups for now. Alright guys, so some things have changed around here. I ended up swapping out all of these to advanced item lasers so that we can filter them all. And we now have effectively a fully passive Empowerer setup here. The items are being extracted from the middle into the drawer controller that's sitting there, where we're going to store all of the output items, and we'll have a storage bus on here. And to supply all of these items, we have an interface here with all of the materials for Empowered Glod, which gets extracted on the brown channel of this item conduit here, and then into this item interface from Actually Additions. This laser relay is then the output of this interface, which is connected to all of the display stands, which of course have all of the filters on there. So long as we have the correct materials in our system, this is going to craft us up Empowered Glod crystals. However, before I forget, let's put some storage downgrades on here. So now that we've got this working, we just have to add a few more of these setups. Pretty much exactly the same. I'm going to stack these on top of each other. But it might take me a while, as these advanced item lasers are definitely not cheap. Yeah, they take 2 gold coils each, in fact 3 gold coils each, and an empowered emeraldic crystal. And this is a lot of brown slime. Alright, this setup is getting a little bit crazy, don't you think? So many lasers. So yeah, I think I got all 3 of these empowered materials fully passive here. I had to add a second interface to this item interface here. It's going to be confusing me calling them both interfaces, but the Applied Energistics interface, we run out of slots in this one. So both of these just input into this Actually Additions interface. And then same as the bottom one, all of these item laser relays are filtered for their correct items. And I tried to filter it in a sensible way, so they're filtered how they appear in JEI. So yeah, this setup should make Elevatium a lot easier to craft now. We are still missing the last step, which is the crystal bundle. So once we have the 3 empowered crystals, which is what we're making here, we have to alloy smelt to the crystal bundle and then empower once more with some solidified experience. So in fact, since we've come this far and already set up all of this stuff, we may as well set up one more for that step, right? And I think we'll do that step over on this side of the room. And you know how they say measure twice, cut once? Well, I was setting this other Empowerer up and I realised that we are off-center here by a block. So basically either we move the whole entrance over to the left 1 block, or we could actually expand this wall backwards, which does mean we'll have to shuffle some things around at the ore processing bit here, as this wall is going to sit right here. But either way, we've got some adjusting to do. I'll probably end up having to move that Empowerer setup back a block as well. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. Alright, so we have all of the functional bits in. I still have to move this wall. I've decided we're just going to move this wall back, and then we'll adjust things up at the ore processing up there. But I'll do that in between episodes. At least everything here with the drawers and things is actually centered and equally aligned between each side. So yeah, this also gives us passive crystal bundles, which we're storing in this drawer here. I've also kept the chest here so that we can batch craft all of the other empowered materials that we haven't got on passive yet. So I've basically kept the old setup where we have the item conduit inserts on the bottom side of these things, which just gets extracted from this chest. But yeah, I think we can call this setup pretty good for now. I'm going to clean this up between episodes, obviously, with the wall. Next though, I would like to look into automating the mana dust and mithril. And I think first of all, we'll start with mana dust, which should be pretty easy. We can just assemblycator this. And we'll add a limited item filter for all of the inputs for mana dust. And I think actually here we'll have to add a separate interface here, yeah. And assuming we have enough channels here on this line. We actually don't have enough channels here, we only have 7, and we're going to need one for a level emitter as well. So to fix that, we can actually move this P2P connection, so this is EC74. So we'll remove this one, and we'll replace it actually further down the line. If we instead place it right before our machines here, it means that we can put a dense cable here, and then we'll hook this back up to the main line of the controller, and now we just have to find EC74, there it is. Then we can paste this to link our P2P again. And now we should have enough channels to put down another interface here for the input items. So we want all of the thermal dusts and RF powder. And before we set our assemblycator recipe, I'm going to set the level emitter first of all. And this will just set to 1 stack of mana dust, which will be output to a drawer above. And I guess we'll need some trim to hook this up. And then we will invert this, so that when we're below 64 it will automatically craft more. Alright, so that is passive mana dust. And now that we have mana dust, the other part of this is Demonlord, which requires us to automate the Demon Ingots. We already have the third component, which is Lunar Reactive Dust automated right here. And to make Demon Ingots, we have to throw gold next to some nether brick. So we have to have this cross pattern with the nether brick and lava on the inside. And thank you, King, for your comment, by the way, that letting me know that you could actually throw it on the corner if I didn't have my magnet on. You can actually throw it on the corner, and this will remove all chances of it actually voiding in the lava here. But I think instead of doing it here, we're going to move it up to the other machine room down there. And I think we're going to repurpose this room for something else. Maybe the rainbow generator could go here, which means we'll probably end up moving these fire mills later as well. So I think this setup, we're going to move to over here next to the plastic. Also, I feel like nowadays it's always raining in this world. Like, I feel like I'm always being rained on. So I hope we don't set our base alight with all this wood here, but I'm hoping that we can just use a precision dropper for this. Then we can have an interface to supply items. I hooked up a AE connection from over here. So here we're going to ask for gold ingots. So then if we put gold in here, is this going to work? No. Okay, maybe it has to be right on the corner here. Alright, so I've been testing this out quite a bit, and I don't think there's actually a reliable way anyway to throw the gold straight on the corner here. I might be missing something, so if you know about that, leave it in the comments. I think instead we're just going to drop it straight into the lava, even though there is a chance that it can void the gold. So obviously we don't want this interface and dropper to keep dropping all of our gold in here. So to control that, we're going to use a level emitter on the extract of the item interface. Actually, maybe moving this back 1 block would make it a bit easier. And that way we can put the level emitter next to the item conduit here. So I think I've got this figured out here. I added a vacuum chest with a filter in here for Demon Ingots. And this is extracted on the blue channel in the conduits and then into this framed drawer, where we have a storage bus underneath to read its contents. So if we reconfigure the level emitter high enough, since I think we already have about 300 of these ingots in our system, if we say like 364, this is going to keep dropping gold ingots in the lava until we've reached the threshold. Well, it looks like adding that level emitter did take us over the channel limit once again, so let me fix the channels under here. Alright, we got more channels and we should be making demon ingots here. Maybe? It looks like we're avoiding a lot of gold here. Maybe let's just stop this for now. I'm really not sure why it done that. Let me figure this out. So just for testing purposes, I tried replacing this automatic precision dropper with a regular vanilla dropper, and this actually seems to work. Yeah, we can see here that we are getting some demon ingots. It does spill out a little bit on the sides, which means we'll have to put some blocks here. But yeah, that's quite strange. I'm not sure why the precision dropper doesn't work. So yeah, I changed some things around here, and I think we have this all set up. This system is automatically going to give us demon ingots whenever we're low in our system. I did have to add this redstone clock to constantly pulse this dropper, but let's muffle that. That's better. So now that we have demon ingots and lunar reactive dust all made, we can add the Demonlord Ingots into our ingot wall here. This does mean we will have to add a separate interface here, but we should have enough channels on this line here. So this is more or less going to be the exact same setup as we have for the other ones. We need demon ingots and lunar reactive dust, which will also go inside the filter. So the demon ingots are actually also used for the open ingots, mob grindium and mithril. I think the open and the mob grindium we can just do on demand, as this isn't used too extensively. I don't think we need to passive this stuff. but we can for sure add a separate alloy smelter for Mithril. So this is going to use our Demonlord, the mana dust which we just made, and some platinum. I haven't actually decided what I'm going to do about platinum yet. We are saving all of our nickel that we're getting from our quarry, and we're also getting cinnabar from redstone. So because of that, it's probably worth setting up an induction smelter for this, as we do get a 100% chance at platinum like this. Although much later in the game we can of course grow it with mystical agriculture. But yeah, getting these materials on passive is absolutely huge. I was crafting so many of these ingots by hand. These machines still have to be upgraded though, as they are still the basic tier machines. However, I don't think our power situation can handle an upgrade. These machines only consume, I think, 20 RF a tick while they're running, which is absolutely fine for now. We need to reduce our power consumption. And in fact, I even took out the upgrades on these smelters here. So we're now only running 1 speed upgrades, just because of the power cost. So these are only using 10 RF a tick, whereas before I think it was like 400 each on these things, and that was a huge drain in our system. But more or less this whole episode we've had this power cell full, so that means that we are positive on power at least, but not by much. And it means that we have to be careful adding some new systems. So yeah, because of that, I think next episode is when we're going to start our rainbow generator. And this is also going to be a very fun project. I'm looking forward to this thing. There's going to be lots of different automation challenges involved with this. So this rainbow generator is actually essential to progression, as we need it for rainbow stone. And rainbow stone is used in a few things. There's a couple of nice extra utilities 2 machines that we can craft with it. We also get access to the quantum quarry, which is basically an upgrade to our builder that we have. So we'll definitely want to get this at some point. And I think it's also the gate for some of the other mods in this pack as well, like Divine RPG. So yeah, really looking forward to getting into this stuff. And of course it will also solve our power issues, as that thing can generate billions of RF. I don't know the exact number, but it's way more than we're going to consume, at least for the time being. But yeah, with that, I think this is a good point to wrap up the episode. We got a lot of automation done with this Empowerer, and also the Atomic Reconstructor. Of course I will also move the wall in between episodes and try to tidy this room up a bit, but at least all the function is in. But yeah, with that, I think that's going to do us for today. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow for some more Divine Journey 2.